Who would have thought it? Cowslips in the middle of Wolverhampton. Our next video is going to cover canal cruising and mooring up, and how to keep ourselves safe. Conqueror weighs 15 tonnes and is not to be messed with. Our syndicate recommends that anybody who is new or inexperienced to the canals watch the CRT Boater's Handbook video. We do also have a copy of the handbook on the boat. We also recommend that any inexperienced boaters go on the RYA 2-day helmsman's course. Judging from some of the things we still see happening on the canals, perhaps we should all go on a course. Fenders left down in locks, boats ignoring sill markers in locks, the use of centre ropes to moor up, canal guides. You will probably have heard of Nicholson's and Pearson's, both are very good. I use a Cornish online site called Dash for it for my guides. I use a website called canalplan.uk for planning my journeys. It estimates how long it's going to take you. And for the cruise itself, I use an app on my phone called Open Canal. It tracks you by GPS and shows you exactly where you are. It's great for knowing when you're coming up to locks. And here we are on the Shroppie headed north to Nantwich. Sharon's stood in the correct position in front of the tiller, making continual little adjustments just to keep going in a straight line. We're doing about 1700 revs per minute. You can see there's no wash, probably because there's a good depth to the canal here, and we're doing about 2.5 miles an hour. We're keeping in the centre of the cut where the canal is at its deepest, but around bends the cut is around the outside, so don't try and cut the corners. So here we are, walking the towpath. Bit of solitude from the mayhem on board. We're told that cruising on the waterways, not only just the greenery but the water, is good for our mental health. Well, it is. And the great thing, if by the time you've done a few locks and a bit of walking, it means you can have that glass of beer or wine in the evening without having to feel guilty. Now, blackberries, eh? Blackberry and apple. Yeah, so just get off the boat. People say to us, oh, you know, how on earth do you get on such a small space? Well, we've got all of this. You just walk right ahead of the boat and you've got your own peace and tranquility. Great, isn't it? It's canal law that you'll meet an oncoming boat on a blind bend or in a bridge hole or by an outcrop of trees. I wouldn't rely on the other boat knowing horn signals, so if there's any confusion, just stand up tall and make a clear hand signal. Cruising past more boats, probably going past about 1000 RPM. Just the aim is you're not shaking the boats around when you're going past them. It depends on how deep the canal is, really, of how fast you go past, but somewhere between 1000 RPM and 1200. Just keep an eye on basically the boat you're going past, that everything's okay. And here we are going past another boat. As you pass the boat, you'll notice your stern will wash out to the starboard side. Just correct it and you'll be fine. And remember, the cut of the canal is in the middle, so there's no need to go too far over to the side and risk running aground. And keep the speed on so you've got plenty of steerage. And if passing means you have to squeeze down the side of trees or bushes, just hang back to protect our paintwork. So we're ready to moor up now, so we've probably looked it up on our Open Canal app or in our guide for a good mooring spot. And look out for these CRT signs. So here we are moored up in a great position on the Nantwich embankment. We've managed to get right into the bank and we're just moored up using fenders. And we're lucky enough for there to have been rings. So we put a loop through the ring and back onto the boat. And both our stern ropes and bow ropes are tied off at 45 degrees. This stops your boat rattling around when people pass you at alleged tick over. On some canals you can't get right into the side or there's underwater projection, so please use the wheelbarrow wheels instead of fenders. So if you don't have a ring to tie up to when you moor and you've got sheet piling, you can use a chain, far more secure than using a piling hook. So slip the chain down behind the sheet piling and then you've got essentially 2 rings to tie up to. If you haven't got sheet piling, mooring pin, right? Angle your mooring pin, basically bang in, and sometimes you put another one in at 45 degrees if the ground isn't very secure. Ropes going forwards at the bow, ropes going backwards at the stern, so the boat's secure, and that's mooring up. Loads more information about knots and how to tie up and how to properly moor up in the operations manual. Another little tip, when you're coming up to locks and there's a bridge nearby, just hop off at the bridge hole and then you can walk up to the lock and just get it ready, and it saves having to pull in and tie up, especially if it's windy. I don't mean to be patronising when it comes to lock operation, but these things are so important that I am going to repeat them. So first thing, make sure the safety latch is on when you wind up the paddle and your windlass is securely on the shaft. And when the paddle is up, don't leave the windlass on the shaft, please. I've seen too many damaged faces. Don't leave your windlass on the lock beam, else you'll know where it'll end up. And when you're locking downhill, always keep forward of that white seal marker. She'll tell me off for filming this, shall we see how she does? Not bad. No need to come in really slow. Again, keep a bit of speed on so you've got your steerage. And see that gate, the top gate, it's sticking out a little bit. They don't always close properly. So just keep an eye on the rear of the boat that it doesn't just scrape along as you come in. So here's Conqueror in a narrow lock, and you can see no fenders. Otherwise sometimes the brickwork bows and then there's a chance of actually locking up on the lock. And here I can just see the seal now just coming into shot. So it's just keeping the boat forward of that obstruction. And one final little tip, make sure your boat keys float.